This episode of Horror Movie Talk brought to you by Uncle Wally's Child Coffin Warehouse. No one likes to lose a child. Funerals are expensive, and mortuary services often take advantage of people's pocketbooks at their most vulnerable moment. So skip these expensive funeral homes and come on down to Uncle Wally's Discount Child Coffin Warehouse. We have certified pre-owned infant, toddler, and prepubescent-sized coffins priced at less than half of what the other guys charge. You couldn't save your child, but you can save your money. Come see us at Uncle Wally's Discount Child Coffins in the Funeral District on 3rd. Mention this ad when you buy a coffin and get a 10% off coupon for your next child coffin purchase. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, an opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Your schlubby hosts each week are Bryce Hanson, the cool collected nihilist, and David Day, a cool guy who is always cool. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. I'm Bryce Hanson.
And I'm David Day.
So, Uncle Wally's Child Coffin Warehouse.
Man, they are just, what a screaming deal.
I know.
Like, I
mean, the one question I have is, like, how, they're certified pre-used.
Yeah.
So where, I mean, are they just dumping the kids out?
It's best not to ask these questions, and it's definitely best not to answer them.
I mean, it's worth the price, though. I mean, you know, you got to take what you can get.
Absolutely.
For a discount coffin.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, we've got a great show today in preparation for the upcoming remake. We'll be talking about the original 1989 Pet Sematary.
It's spelled wrong. Oh boy, I'm excited. This is one of my long-time, this is one of my formative movies. So, pretty excited about this.
Yeah, so if you don't know how Horror Movie Talk episodes work, we'll give a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being miserable, enough to make you angry at the film, 5 being completely average, that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good that it transcends genre boundaries. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the movie. And then later on, we'll have game time.
Oh, boy. What games are we playing, Bryce?
We'll be doing our latest round of Rotten Tomatoes game.
Oh, that's my favorite game. Hey, you know what I was thinking as you were reading the intro and you were calling me a cool guy who's always cool? I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if
you were actually cool?
Well, that... First of all, obviously, it'd be nice to be the thing that I am. Mm-hmm. But I think the fans should think up something for me to be. A thing that is always thing. So all of the suggestions, just go ahead and shoot those in there to us.
Wow. I mean, your brother listens to this, so...
Yeah, it could really go south on us. Yeah. In fact, I'm counting on it.
All right, so before we get into the review, let's cover some in-house business. You can go to our website at horrormovietalk.com, and there you'll find links to all our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Insta. We even have a subreddit you can go look at past episodes on and comment. We post new episodes every Wednesday, and we'd love if you would subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, iTunes especially. You can support the podcast by buying or renting any movie or product on Amazon if you click through the green button in the header of our website. That website again is horrormovietalk.com. Also, technically sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Shudder has a special offer for listeners of Horror Movie Talk. If you use the code HMT at checkout, you get a 30-day free trial to Shudder, which is basically the Netflix of horror. It's a streaming service for horror movies and TV shows. They've got lots of exclusives, even some really nice original content, and check that out. You can get it for free for 30 days if you use HMT. Thanks again for listening. I always say listening. What is my...
I don't know.
Like, whenever I hear my own voice...
I've been keying in.
Develop palsy.
Yeah, I've been keying in on weird speech patterns, patterns that I believe to be weird that are in reality normal. So, like when people say, "I won a prize," that bothers me to no end. They say, "I won the championship," but it's won. I won it. Mm-hmm. But they say "won it." It bothers me.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, when they're like mayonnaise. Okay. I see how fancy you are pronouncing the Y. It's called mayonnaise. There's no Y or O in the word.
Right.
Say mayonnaise, damn it.
I've been listening to like some podcasts or just stories featuring Mormon families in true crime stories.
Oh, dear God.
And there's like... I'm pretty keyed in on the Utah accent. It's very... I can't imitate it.
You can't
but
imitate it.
I can key in on it.
Do you fall into it?
No.
And you are never...
I can't really do it. My wife could probably do it.
I fall into...
But it's very earnest. It sounds very, like, over-pronounced. Also, anyways, whatever.
For me, that's a real detriment to me because I look like a fraud all the time because I'll fall into whatever is being said to me. So if you have a heavy Southern accent, like I can go there real quick, and it sounds disingenuous and like I'm a shithead, but it's just me, I guess, trying to relate or something like that. I don't do it on purpose. With that being said.
So when you're around black people, you're like, "Hey, what's up, man?" No.
Well, yeah, I guess that does happen a lot.
All right, so we rewatched the 1989 Pet Sematary this week, and it still holds up really well, especially if you're a parent.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And I say rewatch, you rewatched it. I thought I had seen this movie, and I realized as I was watching it that I had not seen this movie.
That's fair.
And, yeah, we'll go into that in a minute. Anyways, here's the trailer for Pet Sematary, the original one.
What is this place?
I brought you here to bury Alan's cat.
Daddy, is church all right?
Why, Judd?
I had my reasons.
I dreamed he got hit by a car and you and Mr. Crandall buried him in the Pet Sematary.
What did we do tonight, Judd?
What we did, Lois, was a secret.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Has anyone ever buried a person up there?
May the Lord make his face to shine upon you.
You're thinking thoughts best not thought of.
Daddy's gonna do something really bad.
You're thinking of putting him up there. Don't deny the thought hadn't crossed your mind.
Come back to me, Gage. Come back to us.
Paramount Pictures presents Stephen King's all-time best-selling tale of horror. Pet Sematary.
As of we watched it on Amazon Prime. It was free to stream, but as of the release of this episode, I don't think it will be anymore.
Yeah, it's being pulled from free on Prime.
But Google it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's free or really, really cheap the week of release for the remake.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, no, actually, that's probably accurate. Especially like Google Play. And I think iTunes really capitalize on that a lot because they have the most to gain.
Right.
Because they're trying to compete with Amazon.
Yeah. Pet Sematary is not really about a pet cemetery, but is really about what lies beyond the pet cemetery. The movie, directed by Mary Lambert and written by Stephen King, is based on his novel of the same name. It tells the story of the young Creed family, whose head of household, Lewis Creed, is a doctor moving to a small town of Ludlow, Maine, with his wife, Rachel, played by Denise Crosby, and his two children, Ellie and Gage. Immediately, they meet the kindly old man, Judd Crandall, played by Fred Gwynn, who introduces them to the features of the property. Mainly, a busy road filled exclusively with speeding 18-wheelers and a spooky forest where people bury their dead pets that were killed by those same 18-wheelers.
Really picked quite a spot there, Lewis.
Yeah.
It's a good house.
The crux of the plot, however, relies on what lay beyond yonder pet cemetery, the only horror trope more predictable than a Stephen King story set in Maine. That's right, an Indian burial ground.
Dun, dun, dun!
And as with every movie about an Indian burial ground, the moral to the story is, don't mess with an Indian burial ground.
Haven't you done enough, you white supremacist asshole?
Great name for the Indians, too. Micmac. Micmac Indian burial ground.
Yeah, that just rolls right off the lips. Mm-hmm. Micmac.
It's like shilly-shally.
Which we'll get into.
After the loss of a family cat, Church, Judd takes Lewis to the Indian burial ground, which has the unique feature where whatever is buried there will come back to life. Well, spoilers. I think you pretty much get that idea. While the feline resurrection saves Ellie the grief of losing her favorite cat, the knowledge of a power to restore life is a Pandora's box that only results in misery for the Creed family. Pet Sematary deals really well with the concepts of loss and the folly of trying to cheat death, and it's surprising how much is packed into this movie and how well it still delivers. It deals with the loss of a pet and teaching about the afterlife to your children, deals with protecting your children from physical and psychological trauma, deals with resentment of caring for people on their deathbed, also with the grief of losing a loved one and the desire to get them back at any cost. And it does all of these really well.
Yeah, it does. And it's also kind of stand out because it's the start, as far as I remember, unless Cujo was before.
Cujo was before, I think.
But this is the first of the Stephen King movies that feels like kind of like it could be a made-for-TV movie, a little bit. Especially at the start, the way it starts doesn't feel like a normal blockbuster movie. It feels kind of like toned down. It has the tone of this movie, especially at the beginning, feels like Tommyknockers, I guess.
Well, it's really interesting that this was the screenplay was written by Stephen King himself,
right?
And so it feels very much like a novel, and that there's like asides, there's little vignettes, and different areas that are explored, and you can really tell that King was including as much as he could from the novel to like touch on all the different areas that he wanted to touch thematically.
Yeah,
and it works really well. I mean, a lot of the themes are pretty deep and like core to dread and horror.
Feeling it like you don't have control, really feeling
right,
like Jesus has the wheel.
Yeah. And it does it with a premise that feels like it could be really, really corny and bad.
Yeah,
and it actually like explores it really well.
That's one
with that premise.
That's one of the interesting things about this movie to me is because I think Stephen King, and I think Tommyknockers, I think Dreamcatcher, I think all these movies that don't make sense, like all these movies that are like, they're kind of staples, they're definitely staples, but they're also like fucking weird and just don't make sense, and they're like from a coke-addled brain, and this movie is not that. It is a well put together, solid movie.
Yeah. I will say the acting is not particularly good.
No.
Especially from the lead, Lewis, the guy that plays Lewis. What's his name?
How dare you? My wife would have your head. Dale Midkiff.
Oh, yeah, Dale Midriff. Dale Midkiff, which I wrote down in my notes. It sounds like he graduated from the Keanu Reeves School of Acting. Just very...
He plays Elvis in Elvis and Me. And he's in, and according to my wife, he's in lots of Lifetime movies and Hallmark movies.
So, close your eyes and tell me whether this sounds like Keanu Reeves.
Yep, that's church, all right.
Yeah,
I mean,
yep.
It's just like the delivery of.
Yep, that's Keanu Reeves, all right.
Anyways, the acting isn't particularly good, but the writing makes up for it. The dialogue can have weird asides like those found in Stephen King's novels, but they're done tastefully and they add to the tone of the film. There's a lot of kind of poetic, just weird quotations that they use that you wouldn't normally use in normal conversation, but it works because it's establishing the tone. The script also does a really good job of laying out the plot very logically and creating moments of escalation in ways that aren't always predictable. It's kind of a stepwise motion for lifting up the consequences and the decisions.
Yeah.
Throughout. The film has equal parts dread, jump scares, and gore, all of which are very effective. I thought the special effects were really good, save for one, which was the fight with the Gage doll at the end.
I like it when he jumps at him.
Whee! So overall, I really like this movie. It holds up really well. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, this one's a hard one for me to pin down because it is
it's like a formative.
Yeah, it's a formative kind of movie. And I do recognize that it is not just there are certain stumbling blocks in this movie, like the acting, like the delivery. Some of the delivery is so good that it really shouldn't be replicated. John Lithgow should not be touching that role, even though he is legendary.
Yeah, Fred Gwynne is great in the movie. I mean, it's a little. Sometimes it's a little much on the Maine accent, but overall, I mean, he's probably the best part.
The Maine accent,
movie.
by the way, the woman, the laundry lady. Man, the Maine accent. Yeah. I didn't like last night. I was watching this. I was like, the Maine I know it's an accent. Does Maine have an accent? And yeah, that was jarring. But I mean, everything about Fred Gwynne. You really can't replicate and shouldn't go near it because he's just kind of the greatest all time for this role. So, but I would to pin it down, I'd say I give it a high 7 probably, even though I do love it very much.
Yeah, I think the only thing keeping it from being an 8 was like the acting. There was moments of really good emotion in it where you're like, oh geez, I really believe that the terror that they're feeling, but it doesn't necessarily earn it other than in that moment.
Yeah, it's kind of this movie is interesting. That's what this movie is to me. It is an interesting movie for a lot of different reasons, not just thematically and not just like entertainment wise. It's interesting because it's a Stephen King movie that isn't a wreck. It's a movie written by Stephen King that isn't a wreck, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's from the late 80s, early 90s, and it still holds up in the scares and in a lot and in piquing my interest throughout. Like I'm there with it. And normally in that time frame my attention can wander. So in that regard, Pet Sematary is a interesting and noteworthy movie that should be watched.
Yeah. All right, let's get into spoilers. Spoilers. Okay. So the beginning of the film does a really great job of foreshadowing. I mean, it's very succinct.
Iconic.
You got a scary road, you got a cat-kid situation, and a pet cemetery.
And no fence.
Yeah, no. So the other moral to the story is put up one of those slow children playing signs, you know. Doesn't have to be the county or something that puts it up. You can just put up one yourself.
There's slow kids playing here.
Yeah. Or, put up a fence.
Just put up a little fence.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, it's just got to be a road. It doesn't have to like keep everything in. It's just got to be a roadblock to the kid.
Yeah. Anyways, so it starts out and it basically sets up the premise of the movie and the setting, with Judd and, telling him about the Pet Sematary and stuff. And then suddenly brains.
Boom. Bingo.
Just right from the home to brain trauma. And Dr.
That's a compound fracture on that brain trauma.
Yeah. So Dr. Creed is at the university, and they bring him in this trauma victim named Pascal. And he acts real weird.
He sure does.
And he grabs Lewis by the shirt and starts telling him,
well, he should be dead.
Yeah, he should be dead.
Yeah, but he's not.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
No.
The soil of a man's heart is stonier, Lewis.
The soil of a man's heart is near?
It's stonier.
Oh, stonier.
Yeah, so I watched it with the subtitles on, so I know what it actually said. That really jumps into, okay, supernatural now.
Yeah.
Because before then, it's all just based on reality of yep, new home, got a scary road, pets die, and then all of a sudden it's creepy demon voice from man with brain falling out.
Yeah.
And then it just goes from there. And so Pascal, he haunts Lewis from then on, and pretty soon after that he leads Lewis. You think it might be a dream, but it's actually reality. He leads him to the Pet Sematary.
Yeah. And
tells him very specifically, don't go beyond that point. The ground's bad.
See all those sticks over there?
Yeah.
See all that crap?
Whatever you do, don't climb over that.
Don't try and climb over all that crap that you would never think of climbing over. Mm-hmm. And now I've planted in your brain this crazy idea of climbing over all those crappy sticks.
The whole time, his ghost has, brain falling out and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'd hope, if there is an afterlife, we do, get repaired.
It's not as scary if we do get repaired.
Yeah. But, yeah, poor guy. Have his brain fall out for all of eternity.
I'd like to say that all the shooting, all the filming, everything in this movie takes place in Maine. And, wow, what a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous.
It actually reminds me a lot of the Pacific Northwest.
That's why I went and looked up where it was shot, because I was like, oh, this has got to be Washington. Mm-hmm. This just has to be.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Stephen King insisted. I don't know if he's a producer on this, but he apparently had a lot of power on this film, because he basically insisted that it had to be shot in Maine on location, and there couldn't be any changes to the script.
Wow.
And since it was in Maine, he lives in Bangor, Maine, and just really close, so he was on set all the time.
Yeah.
For the movie. And, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's all about keeping it, keep boosting the economy and trying to help out. And
yeah. But also, I mean, it's true to the setting of the story, and it's based on, his life. I mean, he based it on the experience of, one, losing a family cat and by getting hit in the road, and he also had a child that he prevented from getting hit in a road.
Oh, well, so did I.
And
all the time when she goes darting for the road, and I'm like, hey, and then I trip her.
Right. And I think it's like a lot like the scene with Gage, except, he saves his daughter instead of...
I was going to say, damn, are we going for some Eric Clapton stuff right now?
And also, like, basically the property that he lived on was like this property. It had the busy road, and then there's a pathway to literally a pet cemetery with the wrong spelling. Like, that's what he based it off of.
Oh.
So, and Stephen King is on record saying that Pet Sematary is his scariest book.
Really?
Which makes sense because it deals with such a personal thing. And I can't think of anything more scary in terms of subject material than losing a child.
Yeah, it's scary because it's so plausible.
Yeah.
Because you have kids and they're basically trying to die all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Can I drink this? No! Please don't.
I have that written down as a talking point. Kids have a death wish in general.
Yeah.
Like this, I mean, for me, particularly, this movie resonated with me because I've got a daughter around the same age as Ellie, and I've got a son around the same age as Gage.
Yeah.
And Gage and Colin look pretty similar. I mean,
yeah,
little blonde kids. I mean, the only difference is Colin is like an absolute unit.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I think if a semi-truck hit Colin, he'd probably be okay.
Semi-truck would not be all right. Yeah, that kid he's a tank. Every time I see him, I'm like, God damn, that is a sturdy man. I'm like, I don't even think of him as a baby.
But in terms of like as a little toddler, like this, the way he's running around and acting in the movie is like, oh man, that's totally like my son.
Yeah.
Just barely starting to like understand words at all,
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, when the scene, spoilers, we're in spoilers.
Well, I mean,
the scene when
the like, audience had 30 years to be fair.
When Gage gets hit by that truck and the reaction is just horror and just screaming in agony. Oh. I'm like, yeah, that I really felt it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
There's a few movies that do the child losing a child thing really well. Hereditary is one of them, and this is another one. I'm sure there are others, but I mean the reason it works is because you immediately can go there.
Yeah.
If you have kids, and even if you don't, I mean, it's very easy to put yourself into that.
Yeah, because like we said, like kids have a death wish. You run through this scenario all the time in your head. Just like you can't look at them all the time, and when you don't look at them, it only takes them seconds to harm themselves.
It's astonishing. It really, I mean, there's nothing more to say about it other than, kids just want to get hurt.
Yeah.
Badly.
So Pascal really is acting as a good angel. He's showing Lewis, like, don't do this. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good. And as a contrast, Judd is, the friendly neighbor guy.
Oh, man.
His brains aren't falling out. He's not scary to look at. But he's kind of acting as the bad angel.
Yeah.
And he's pushing Lewis to use the burial ground when the cat dies. So
I didn't really think about it that way. That which is interesting because it's so obvious,
Yeah.
But all I think about when I see what's his name, Judd.
Yeah.
I go, man, I wish I had a neighbor who just invited me over and offered me a beer.
Yeah.
I wanted to sit down on the front porch and smoke and drink beer.
Yeah, Judd is like a great neighbor. Let's not get him. And he's not really like trying. He doesn't have a malicious intent.
There's no ill will.
He's really trying to help him. But in terms of like getting Lewis in a bad spot, he is the direct cause of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He basically took his hand and said, "Come here.
Let's do this.
I will lead you down an incredible journey of
horrible,
the undead."
Horrible thing.
And then, of course, Judd, tries to convince him not to, resurrect his son.
Yeah.
Which tells him is a bad idea because...
sometimes that is better.
You can't... and I've heard John Lithgow's, redo of that.
Well, yeah, John Lithgow, I don't think he's trying to do a Maine accent at all.
Not only is he not trying to do a Maine accent, he's not a ultra baritone.
He's not bad. I mean, I think it's good casting.
Sometimes dead is better.
But in terms of like casting against Fred Gwynne, I mean, Fred Gwynne is a presence. Like
Right.
his head is like probably the size of my like chest cavity.
Yeah, he played Frankenstein for years as Herman Munster,
Yeah.
So he's a large
He's got
man.
that giant mouth.
Yeah.
And
his teeth are appropriately messed up. There's no effort was gone into making his mouth pretty.
Yeah.
And so it's everything about him is country.
Yeah.
And there's a strong element in this movie of that, like, good old boy kind of like,
Yeah.
this is country. This is a rural place, and we're hospitable folk, but we're also hard.
Yeah. There's several things that tie this movie to the expanded Stephen King universe.
Yeah, MCU. So for this
so
would be
the KCU.
SKU, Stephen King universe.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Skew.
Anyways, so there's a couple like little Easter eggs. There's a poster that, and I think in the novel they talk about a dog that goes crazy, and referring to Cujo.
Oh.
I think in the movie they pass a sign for Salem's Lot.
Oh.
And all of the family seems to have The Shining, like the entire family of the Creed family, because Judd can see the dead.
Yeah.
And like Ellie like keeps having premonitions and also sees Costco.
Yeah.
And I think that's like just part of the thing is that their whole family can basically shine.
Damn, dude. This is really interesting. I never knew any of that stuff. Notable things for me are like, boy, Lewis is the worst raker ever. He's bad at raking up leaves.
I didn't even notice that.
He's standing in the middle of his yard with a rake, and there's leaves all around him, and he's just like, I mean, it's like watching an actor who's never had to do a thing, and he's just like flopping it on the ground, kind of, and then like he doesn't rake anything, and then he's like done with raking, and there's still leaves everywhere. And it really bothered me a lot. You're like, oh yeah, it ties really well into the Stephen King universe because I think the whole family can shine. Also, there's this Salem's Lot thing going on over here, and I'm like, guy can't rake.
Okay, so yeah, the mother, played by Denise Crosby, which I recognize from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh yeah.
I think she left Star Trek: The Next Generation like the year before this movie.
She wasn't a main character or anything like that.
She was. I mean, she was Worf's position before Worf.
Oh yeah.
And I know Will Wheatley said on record, he's like, yeah, the first season with Worf, they didn't really ever do anything with him, but eventually, he
got fleshed out.
And he said basically Denise Crosby just kind of got fed up with having nothing to do, so she quit. And
worst mistake ever.
Yeah. And they killed her off in one of the episodes with the black oil monster.
Oh yeah.
It was very sudden. But she came back. She came back in like flashbacks and came back as her daughter. So she still worked on the show, but not as a main cast member.
She's no Worf, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. In this movie, she plays Rachel, and Rachel is kind of a kind of a bitch.
Don't mince your words here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I wrote down a different word, but
Yeah, boy, man. She's not she's grating.
yeah.
Grating.
So this is when Judd is taking him and showing him the Pet Sematary, and this is her reaction to a nice neighbor that was showing them an interesting thing about their property.
Basically a feature of their property.
Yeah.
There's something good come of it. This place. Couldn't plant nothing but corpses here anyway, I guess.
How can you call it a good thing? A graveyard for pets killed in the road, built by broken-hearted children.
Well, they have to learn about death somehow, now don't they, Miss Creed?
Why?
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 It's an accident.
Did I do something to offend you or to make you mad? I'm just welcoming you to the neighborhood. Why?
Why do they have to learn about death? Because it's perhaps the most important thing that a child should learn about. Because they're constantly trying to die.
And then later, they're talking as a family at the breakfast table, and they're talking about neutering Church, the cat, and Ellie is like worried that something's going to go wrong in the surgery. And this is her reaction to Lewis, being a doctor and saying, most likely everything will go fine. Anyways.
Church will be all right, honey.
You promise, Daddy?
Don't shilly-shally, Lewis. Give the little girl a promise.
Church will be fine. I promise.
Oh, don't shilly-shally, Lewis. Shut up, woman.
Don't shilly-shally, Lewis. Give the little girl a promise.
It's like, yeah, but...
Well, how about you just stay out of it?
Yeah, but there's a chance that something could go wrong, sure.
Yeah.
Like, he's a doctor. Him, of all people, is going to be like, yeah, I mean, there might be something going to happen. But his nuts will definitely be gone. Either way. So the premise behind having him neutered is Judd is like, you should get that cat neutered. You should tutor up that cat because a neutered
cats that are neutered don't wander as much.
They don't wander.
But yeah, they do. I mean,
but also, yeah, there's just a road a couple feet away from your house.
Yeah, and it's not like they're tied to your house once they don't have nuts.
Yeah. Was the implication on that to like neuter his child? Should he have neutered his child and then his kid wouldn't have walked into the...
I don't think so.
I don't have boys, so I don't know. I just deal with girls all day.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a bad idea that, if you have a cat that's an outdoor cat, it's just an outdoor cat.
Yeah.
It's going to wander around.
And it better know its way around the street.
Yeah.
Or else it can get bit.
I've had several cats that have died by getting hit by cars. It sucks.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
No.
Okay, so cat dies, and Judd takes him to Indian burial ground, and of course the cat comes back. And the cat is scary. Like, that does hold up in terms of, like, the jump scares with the cat. I thought so. Did you think so?
Yes, absolutely. This is Church hissing with his eyes glinting in the dark is forever burned into my brain. That is one of the most iconic horror shots of all time. And in the 90s, it was used in a commercial. I can't remember exactly what the commercial was, but they played it over and over again, and I was little. I was like 7 or 8, and it very much, like, to this day, that's one of these shots that is just going to live on for forever, really.
So, like, the jump scare when Church appears again is great, and then also the part where Church scratches him is, like, really effective too, to me.
Yeah, because for a number of reasons, because that's exactly what a cat would fucking do. You bitch.
apparently the cat, I thought it looked really weird to me. Like, it was weirdly, like, compact. I don't know. I guess it's not that weird because they had, like, 8 different cats playing church.
Yeah, those cats, they're a blue something, and all of them look exactly the same. So making it the ideal cat for extras.
Right.
Because you got one of them, this one over here looks just like it.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, when you film with cats, you can't teach a cat to do more than one thing. And so they had to use like 8 or 9 different cats. And really, you're not really training a cat. You're just using the cats that have that natural proclivity. It's like, all right, we need to train a cat to scratch you. Let's just find a cat that scratches people.
Just get an angry one. Or, mess with his tail a bunch.
We need a cat to hiss at the camera.
Touch his tummy.
Let's find a really hissy cat.
Are you going to touch his tummy? That always makes him mad.
So yeah, the bringing the cat back to life is, something ain't right about that cat. Is definitely undead. The daughter's complaining about how it stinks.
Yeah, she's like, well, and also like we passed one of my favorite scenes in this movie, which is Judd calls Lewis over to his front lawn. He's like, "Hey, Lewis, I got something you're gonna want to see."
Yeah, that's right.
I got I think, is that your cat? And it's dead, and it's sitting there on his grass, and right next to the road. And Lewis is like, "Sure is." You played the clip.
Yeah.
Yep. That's church, all right.
He's very, very emotional about it.
That's church, all right. And then after that, he peels Church off the grass. Like the cat has been sitting there for a week because the grass is like intertwined.
Well, they mentioned how it was frost, how like it had frosted over.
Oh,
and so Judd specifically said like, no, the cat wasn't alive when you buried it. There's nothing alive that would peel off the ground like that.
Right.
Like it was frosted over.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that scene because of the effort he has to go through to pick that cat up off the grass. It's it's like a Velcro.
Yeah. And so that whole part of setting up the cat returning, it's pretty low stakes.
Yeah.
Like, you got an undead cat, which really acts like a cat anyways. I mean, a crazy zombie cat is, pretty close to an actual cat at times.
Right. What happens when you bury, like, fish in the Pet Sematary? What then? Does a goldfish, like, because it doesn't need air or water anymore. It can...
Yeah, it's a little confusing, the rules with the world, because they come back to life, but you can still kill them pretty easily.
Yeah. And further, so things are dying all the time and getting buried in this pet cemetery.
Well, it's not the pet cemetery, it's the Indian burial ground beyond it.
Right, but things are being buried in the pet cemetery.
Yes.
Oh wait, yeah. So what if like a cougar dies in the Indian burial ground?
I think you have to be buried is the thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's rough.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like they're not that hard to kill after they're dead. Like, he kills them with, like, a sedative.
Yeah. You're
with, like, a drug.
Go away, kitty.
Yeah. So then the most harrowing scene happens after all this is set up of the rules of this Indian burial ground. Then, of course, Gage, the little toddler, the cutest little boy in the world...
Man, what a cutie.
Runs into the road and gets annihilated by a semi-truck.
Yeah. Boy, man. Just brutal.
Yeah. And just the reaction of the family feels really genuine. Like, I really believe that they just lost a little child. And then they have a funeral for Gage, and the father-in-law is... the biggest cock in the entire universe.
He sure is.
It's like, I told my daughter that you would only bring pain, and look what you done.
Look at you now.
Like,
wow.
I can't think of a better way to get murdered in plain sight.
Yeah.
Than to confront someone
who'd lost their child
at the child's funeral,
telling them that it's their fault.
Yeah. Yeah, that if my father-in-law did that to me, I would strangle him right there.
Wow. Would he?
No.
Okay, well, at least there's no risk of that.
Yeah. And then, of course, Judd, knows what Lewis is thinking. He says, "Nope, don't do it. Don't bury Gage in the...
Don't do that thing."
And, of course, he does.
Yeah, I mean, so that asks a good question, right? That's a worthwhile question. If you lost your kid and you were in the depths of despair because, assuming you didn't kill yourself.
Yeah.
How appealing would that be? How appealing would it be to be able to bring him back to life at any level of, like, even watching? Okay, so you have a Pet Sematary situation going on at your house. You have a trail that leads to an Indian burial ground not far away. You watch the movie, and then you lose your child, and then you go, I know I just watched the movie about this thing that shows how bad this will end, but you might still do it.
Yes. You would, and here's why. Number one, you look at how people react to family members on their deathbed and, like, end-of-life care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are vegetables. They're not there. They're never coming back, and they'll still put them on life support for
eons,
indefinitely.
Yeah,
because
letting go is harder.
And they still have some attachment of that person there.
Yeah.
Whether it's just the body,
and that is compounded infinitely when it's a young, vibrant child.
Right. And then the other side of it is a child that's a mindless zombie that only wants to kill is really not that different than a toddler in general.
That's touche. But he'll never grow
really,
into...
Could you tell? I don't think I could tell sometimes if my child was trying to kill me because they're a zombie, or if they're just trying to kill me because I didn't let them finish playing with the iPad.
Yeah, the lack of restraint is it's real.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I know I have... Oh, man. The other day, so we had a pair of scissors in the dishwasher. And the dishwasher...
Like the kitchen shears or just a...
Yeah, I guess. I can't recall. No, I think they were just like scissors, like sharp scissors.
Huh.
And because, whatever, we cut something open and it had to be washed. And so... the dishwasher was sitting open, and of course, she grabs the scissors and she comes walking into the hallway down the, from the kitchen. We're looking down the hallway at her with this pair of scissors, and she's like, "Look!" She's got these scissors. I'm like, "Oh fuck!" Both of us are like, "Oh!" And so I'm like, Carrie's almost screaming. But I'm like, just stay calm, just stay calm.
Was she wearing a red jumpsuit by any chance? No. And a brown glove on one hand?
Nah, her name was not Lupita Nyong'o. So I would just walk up very calmly, staying real. Hey, how about you give me those? Okay, because it was like, she's going click, 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 click. She's got the scissors working that action out. I'm like, oh, God, please don't kill yourself.
Yeah, I don't know where the scissors are in my office because I guarantee that my 18-month-old just grabbed them and walked away with them. Kids are
they're fun.
They're fun. So the best part of this movie is dead Gage.
Yeah, he's super effective.
Is it Gabe? Or
Gage.
Gage.
Yeah.
I wrote down Gabe for some reason.
That's Gage.
So Gage seeing a little kid, like, literally with a scalpel carving up Fred Gwynn is, like, pretty horrifying.
Yeah.
It's really effective because did Child's Play come out before this or right after?
I think before. I think Child's Play was 88.
I mean, I think it was like, for some reason, that was the heyday of really selling that image.
Oh, yeah.
Of a little tiny baby or a little tiny
something.
Like something killing you.
Yeah, because, Gremlins really kicked that all off.
Yeah.
Gremlins and then kicked off the whole small thing coming at you. But it's
now it's really hokey. It's like you would only see that in B movies. I guess they're remaking Child's Play, but I mean,
kids. Well, yes, like Gremlin-esque stuff that's not a person. So like Gremlins and what's that other one that scared you? The box art scared you? Ghoulies. Yeah, and hobgoblins and all those critters. All those. By the way, new Critters just has been made and released on Shudder. Enter HMT at checkout and check out the wacky. We got to review this one because it's crazy. But so back to it. Like, little kids though are always going to be a staple of horror, right? Because it just makes sense. So, like, if you have a 2-year-old and she walks into your room at night unannounced, quietly, it's fucking alarming because there's this tiny little silhouette of a thing moving around in your house. You know, it clicks a lot of terrifying. You know, just checks all those boxes.
Yeah. The scene with Lewis fighting Gage or Zombie Gage is probably the worst in terms of special effects.
Yeah.
Because it literally looks like not even a really good doll.
Yeah,
that Lewis is just like throwing around.
Shaking him like a... trying to breathe life into this doll by shaking it.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. The director said that they really went to great lengths to not traumatize this kid, that any scene with blood or cutting or anything, that he wasn't on set. They just like would intercut him into it. I think the only thing that was remotely scary would be he was there when he gets injected in the neck. Man, that little kid did a really great job. I gotta say,
he really did, especially considering how old he was. He's tiny.
He was like just barely over 2 years old, and he's a tiny kid.
Yeah,
too. So he looks like an 18-month-old,
just a little tot.
Yeah,
and yeah, no, the way they did it. Yeah, the whole way through, you're kind of going, Jesus Christ, I hope they didn't traumatize this kid, like, very badly.
Yeah.
But also, you can see the spots where they don't, you know, where the effort is being made not to, because there's a decent amount of kind of jump cutting, you know, or, like, showing a hand.
Yeah, like a little tiny hand.
A little tiny hand with a scalpel instead of Gage with a scalpel. Like, enacting the violence.
Yeah.
You know, you'll see Gage with the scalpel, but the violence is done by is done with a shot of a hand with a tiny hand with a scalpel. So that kind of stuff kind of makes me feel a little bit better about the fact that this kid is not heavily traumatized.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, those scalpel scenes were pretty effective in terms of like gore. Like him cutting up Judd was like, whew, carving his like Achilles tendon.
Yeah, really gets in there too,
and like his face and
well, and that's the thing that's scary about Child's Play and on all these things, right? Because if your leg's dead, if they get your, and they always do, like in Child's Play and Pet Sematary and all these movies, it's like, let's go for the Achilles, and you'd be out for the count.
Yeah,
maybe for life.
So yeah, the other part of it is Lewis killing his kid a second time.
Oof.
Like, and being doing it by his own hand, even though it's a zombie kid, you could still see that was like painful.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how bad that would be. Just be like, I got to say goodbye again,
Yeah, it's like a mercy thing, which is not easy, but you just have to kind of, I don't know.
I mean, that is a really interesting, parallel to this movie of just life support, having a family member on life support, and they're never coming back. Like how do people deal with death? And the answer is not well.
Right. It takes I am impressed by people who are able to hunt, just because that's an impressive ability to be able to separate yourself even from killing an animal. Like I remember as a kid, we had acreage and I would mow the field, and I'd run, you just run over little field mice, and then they'd be kind of like, in the throes of death. And as a kid, walking up to them and being like, I have to kill this thing because that's the right thing to do. I heard it, and, stepping on them or whatever. But that's very difficult to do. It's not. It takes a piece. Takes a little piece of you.
Yeah.
And so being able to divorce yourself from that is impressive to me.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, like how other cultures that are closer to nature,
right,
are better with death or more respectful about it.
Much more.
So, for example, the Indians, like Indian burial grounds, there's a lot of, symbolism around that of just showing there's more respect for life and the circle of life,
right.
To where they're not trying to, a lot of Native American rituals are just leaving the body out and letting nature consume it.
Yeah, there's
or just kind of returning it to the earth, as opposed to, Western cultures that are, let's preserve this to make it look like it's alive for as long as possible,
right,
because we don't want to admit that this person's gone.
Right.
And then just in general, just, consuming meat, like being a hunter and having an intimate relationship with the thing that you're killing and eating is a lot more meaningful than just picking up a pound of beef from the supermarket.
Yeah, and it's much different than trophy hunting, right? It's not joyous it's not joyous in a hooray, I killed this thing. It's not. It's the joy is not surrounding, getting, acquiring. Yeah. It's surrounding, thank you for giving your life so that to sustain my life, and paying respect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a life and death is fertile ground to explore. So, final recommendations. Who would you suggest would like Pet Sematary?
If you're a horror fan, you really just need this in your... You really need this in your repertoire. You need to have seen this to be able to discuss it. And it's important.
Yeah, and especially if you're a parent. Yeah. Like, if you're a parent with a young family, this movie is horrifying.
Yeah, it'll hit those buttons for you.
Yeah. All right. Go see it. See it before the remake. The remake's coming out tomorrow if you're listening to this podcast on the day of release.
Yeah.
And we'll be reviewing the remake next week. So tune in next Wednesday.
Also, check out, we have a blog on at horrormovietalk.com. It's our latest blog, so just and it's Keith comparing, whether or not the Pet Sematary needed to be remade, basically, is the question he asks and tries to answer in this blog. And it is a big, long blog that really delves deep into that and the idea of remakes itself, and when it's necessary and when it's not.
In fact, don't go to our website directly. If you search Pet Sematary original
versus remake,
it should come up on the first page.
Yeah, number 1.
Click through to Horror Movie Talk and read that article. It is really good, and he wrote it mostly just based on the trailer. He's going to update it after he sees the new movie, but
I hope so. Yeah,
most of it, reading over it, like it's more of, like you said, just an argument about whether this needs to be remade or not, and were the changes that you could see in the trailer worth it.
Yeah, and he's really fair about it, and this is an interesting, like, in my opinion, it really doesn't need to be remade. I get why they would. This is going to be one of the biggest horror releases of 2019, is my guess. But just because Pet Sematary, I mean, it's a legendary horror movie, but I just can't see what spin they're going to put on it that's going to add anything.
All right, so let's move on to our game, the Rotten Tomatoes game. Rotten.
Rotten. We got to record that in earnest.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes game is where I list off a couple movies, and David has to guess which one has the higher tomato score.
Tato-meter score.
On the Tato-meter score.
I'm ready.
This is themed edition of all the Stephen King animal-related movies.
Wow. You were able to compile...
with other animal-related, non-horror animal-related movies.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, there's just barely enough, like, actual Stephen King adaptations that it works.
Okay.
Okay, first, Stephen King's Sleepwalkers, this is a TV movie, versus Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey.
Is that the... Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey is the one that we saw as kids?
Yeah.
The one that was released...
Like 90,
in the
1990.
92 or
and
something
Michael
like
J.
that.
Fox voicing one of the pups.
Yeah. Boy, that was a great movie. Wow.
It's so hard to say.
It's
like all of these movies that I picked are like my childhood movies, and I thought they were all great.
Wow, you're casting aspersions on Homeward Bound now. I feel like I saw that movie so many times. Like that was just, it got worn out in the VHS player. Mm-hmm. I really can't see a made-for-TV Stephen King beating Homeward Bound, like one of my childhood favorites. So I'm going Homeward Bound on this one.
Yeah, this one's the easiest one. Sleepwalkers was 20%.
Oof.
And Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey was 87%.
Dang. So
what, really good.
What was Sleepwalkers?
Sleepwalkers was the one that I thought was Pet Sematary. Like, that's the one I remember seeing, and it's got, like, it involves cats and, like, a weird alien zombie virus that turns people into cat monsters or something.
Here we go. That's the Stephen King I know.
Yeah.
Not this Pet Sematary. Totally makes sense. Pretty good.
But I remember, like, when seeing stuff about Pet Sematary, to always show that cat, and I'd be like, oh, I remember seeing a really shitty Stephen King cat movie.
Yeah.
And, like, I couldn't understand why people are talking so fondly about this Pet Sematary, because I remember it being a real piece of shit.
Yeah, you know, Pet Sematary really falls into that nostalgia zone with Twin Peaks and Misery, you know, like just kind of interesting spot in history.
Okay, next up, Cujo versus Benji the Hunted.
Wow, Benji the Hunted, that's also in the like 80s. So, and Cujo I've never seen Cujo.
Yeah. Benji the Hunted was probably my favorite movie when I was, like, a toddler.
Aww.
Yeah.
Benji. Yeah, Benji was great. You're just watching a little scraggly dog run around and do stuff. Look, the dog's doing stuff. Oh, he's walking down the street. I like to walk down the street. Yeah. This is tough because I'm sure Benji the Hunted does not get the reviewers coming back and looking at it. Nobody has reviewed Benji the Hunted since it came out.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's come out on Netflix.
Yeah, really?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's on Netflix.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Benji the Hunted. I'm still going to go. Just because of the cult.
I will say that they're close.
I'm just going to say, just because of the cult aspect of Cujo, I'm going to go with Cujo.
All right. You're correct.
Yeah, baby.
Cujo is 60% and Benji the Hunted is 56%.
Aw, poor Benji. Be nice to a little pup.
Yeah. All right. Another really close one. Pet Sematary that we just reviewed versus Turner and Hooch. Starring Tom Hanks and a big ugly dog.
Oh, man. That's rough. I'm guessing that Pet Sematary is sitting somewhere in the 70 to 80% zone. Probably like low 80s. And I'm going to guess that Turner and Hooch is sitting... Ooh, that's tough. Because the audience score on Turner and Hooch is going to be high because people really like early Tom Hanks.
Well, it's not the audience.
No, I know, but and that's what I'm trying to, because I'm thinking public sentiment, but that's not what this is about. I'm gonna say Pet Sematary because I think it's just gotten more love over time.
Dang it, you are wrong.
Oh,
Pet Sematary was 50%.
What?
Yeah, it's not even fresh.
Wow,
which is shocking to me. This is a good movie.
50?
50.
Wow.
And Turner and Hooch was 52%.
Oof. Yeah. Oof.
All right. Next, The Adventures of Milo and Otis.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love that one.
Versus Stephen King's Cat's Eye.
Cat's Eye. This isn't about animals.
It is.
It's just called Cat's Eye.
It's got cats on it.
What's his thing with cats?
Cat's Eye. Cat's Eye is like a...
Have you seen it?
Is a 3... It's kind of like Creepshow. It's got 3 short stories in it. I don't know anything about it, but I saw it. Had a cat on the cover, and it's called Cat's Eye, so I included it.
I think we really need to get deeper into watching more Stephen King movies. Because almost as a rule, I avoid
There's
them.
so many, though. There's no way we could do it all. I mean, that would be a podcast in itself.
Thinner?
There's like 40 movies. Like, if you look on Wikipedia, it goes on forever. Lawnmower Man was one.
Whoa.
Like, Lawnmower Man, well, the Lawnmower Man that we know is only based on the title, or like they only borrowed the title. It has nothing to do with his story, but they still count it on Wikipedia.
Huh. Yeah, there's a lot. Okay, so this is Milo and Otis versus Cat's Eye.
Uh-huh.
Milo and Otis has to take it just based on the fact that it's awesome, and I've never heard of Cat's Eye.
All right, you're right.
Yay!
The Adventures of Milo and Otis is 80. Stephen King's Cat's Eye is 67.
That's 3 out of 4 so far.
Yeah. One last one. Yeah. Okay. Babe versus Pet Sematary 2.
Wow. I mean, I mean,
rack your brain.
I mean, I don't know. Wait, there's a Pet Sematary 2?
Yes, there is. Directed by the same director.
Wow, Mary Lambert?
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder what she did. Is it good? Let's find out. I'm going to say this is not Pig in the City.
No, it's the original, Babe.
What a great movie that was. Bahram you, Bryce.
I've still never seen it.
You've never seen Babe? Oh my God. What have you been doing, Troll Life? Bro. Dude, no, you got kids. You need to show them Babe.
Okay.
It's the best. He's such a cute little piggy. I bet somebody ate him after that. I'm going to go Babe.
It's a pretty safe bet. I think Babe was nominated for like an Academy Award or
Yeah.
something. Babe came in at 97%.
Wow.
And Pet Sematary 2 came in at... Why don't you just guess what the score for Pet Sematary 2
I'm going to go
is?
22.
25%.
25.
Really close. Wow. All right, so you dominated that game.
Yeah, that was good. I did good. Good job, me.
I mean, I was trying to find enough Stephen King movies that the ones that I found were really bad, so it wasn't that hard to... Should have just found really bad animal movies.
Oh, yeah.
Should have done.
Yeah. Babe won an Academy Award for cutest pig.
Yeah. They just created that category that year.
Right. And, it wasn't hard because there's a lot of ugly pigs.
I was really surprised at how low Benji the Hunted and Turner and Hooch got.
Is that really surprising, though?
Like, it just must be like, I probably didn't have real good taste as a kid.
No. Say that ain't so. You're a movie reviewer. A horror movie reviewer. Look at you. You've come so far. From bad taste, liking Benji.
Benji the Hunted was great. It was Benji, the cute dog, except he was hunted.
Yeah. Scary. There's stakes now.
Mm-hmm. They should remake that movie.
Ooh.
As a horror movie.
The real question, does that need to be remade?
Or should make a sequel, Benji the Hunter.
Ooh. Benji's Revenge.
Yes. All right. Thanks for listening to the show. That's
Revenge. Revenge.
Rebenji the Hunter.
Rebenji. Yay.
Benji gets his revenge. All right, that's all we got for today. Thanks for listening. Please share the podcast with a friend. We've got convenient links on our website at horrormovietalk.com. Again, if you want to get a 30-day free trial to Shudder, there's lots of exclusive content on there. If you're a horror movie fan or even a horror TV fan, use HMT at checkout. Again, if you are just clamoring for ways to support the show, you can go on our website, horrormovietalk.com, and click on the Amazon button in the banner, and pretty much do any of your Amazon shopping, and we'll get a little taste of that. So thanks again, and join us next week when we review Pet Sematary 2019.
Yeah. The remake.
The remix.
Bye-bye.
Bye.